Chapter 4 of Genesis begins with a family barbecue that takes a dark turn. Cain, one of the firstborn sons, decides to bring the vegetables from his garden to offer to God, while his brother Abel brings the best cuts of meat from his flock, specifically the firstborn lambs and the fat portions, the choice cuts. God looks favorably upon Abel's offering, but Cain's vegetable platter does not earn the same approval. This moment leads us to understand that God shows a preference for meat, suggesting that even in ancient times, dietary choices reflected deeper spiritual meanings. Cain, feeling rejected and envious, becomes disheartened. God notices his change in demeanor and speaks to him, asking, "Why the long face? If you do right, won't you be accepted? But be careful, because sin is lurking at your door, and it desires to have you. You must master it." Despite this warning, Cain does not heed the advice. Instead, he lures Abel out into a field and tragically kills him. When God comes asking, "Where is your brother?" Cain replies with the famous retort, "Am I my brother's keeper?" God responds with a powerful accusation, saying, "His blood is crying out to me from the ground. You are now cursed, and the ground will no longer yield good crops for you. You will be a restless wanderer on the earth." Cain, overwhelmed by the weight of his punishment, proclaims that it is too much for him to bear, fearing that he will be killed by anyone who encounters him. In a surprising twist, God marks Cain, not as a curse but a protective sign, declaring that anyone who harms him will suffer far worse. This mark serves as a safeguard as Cain travels east to a land called Nod, where he establishes a city, setting off a generational trend of violence and rebellion. Fast forward a few generations, we meet Cain's descendant Lamech, who takes 2 wives and boasts about having killed a man for merely injuring him, proclaiming a staggering vow of vengeance that exceeds even Cain's declaration. Thus, we see the rapid descent of humanity into jealousy, murder, polygamy, and violent pride. As we transition into Chapter 5, the narrative takes a dramatically different tone with the genealogy of Adam. This leads to a long list of names and ages, where Adam lives to be 930 years old, Seth 912, and Enosh 905, continuing down a line that emphasizes the inevitability of death. Each entry concludes with a somber, "and then he died," until we reach a name that breaks the bleak cycle, Enoch. The text states that Enoch walked with God, indicating an extraordinary relationship, and then it simply says, "He was not, for God took him." Instead of dying, Enoch vanishes, taken directly to heaven, hinting at a remarkable spiritual connection. The genealogical record eventually brings us to Lamech, a different figure from earlier, who declares that his son Noah will bring relief from the cursed ground. This hints at the promise of hope and redemption amidst the growing darkness of humanity's choices. Thus, chapters 4 and 5 of Genesis encapsulate the sorrowful choices of humanity, marked by violence and pride, contrasting sharply with the singular story of one who walked so closely with God that he managed to escape death itself.